We're looking good. I suppose let's do it. Better late than never, you know? Let's get it started. Wow. It's truly amazing. Look at that. Everything looks beautiful. Yeah, it looks good. Everything. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that'll work. All right. We're ready to rock. Everyone's here. We're ready. We're live. Ready for action? Okay. You know, I always get like really, always kind of got to get like hyped up. Often I'll sit like 5 minutes, 10 minutes beforehand, just like preparing to begin the SpeedLore. And it can take some time to get the correct feel to begin. And yes, people in chat know I always start with saying a common saying. So when you hear that, you'll know the time is nigh and that we've begun. All right. Well, my friends, it's a beautiful evening here live at the NASA Marathon to do what I call a Goldeneye 007 SpeedLore episode. And if you don't know what this is, for the past year and a half or so, I've started to go over Goldeneye. It's a very storied speed game, like many of our speed games are, and recount the history, the lore behind one single level in the game. Obviously, Goldeneye is one of the speed games that's been played a lot. I would say it's one of very few games that's been played every single day for the past 20 years of someone out there has been speedrunning it. And so each level has a very vast history of the players who've been involved, the strategies they've come up with, and all sorts of ways we've evolved speedrunning the game. And it sort of embodies or gives a good example of just how much work and how much is behind just any speedrun, how much can go into it, as you'll see throughout this episode. This one will take you on some absolutely crazy paths. The level we're looking at is Control Agent. It's one of the last levels in Goldeneye, and one of the more difficult ones. People have a lot of issues with it. And if you don't know the level, we'll jump in. You'll see a run, and you'll see how it all plays out. The three objectives on this single stage Control Agent are protect Natalia, disable Goldeneye satellite, and destroy armored mainframes. And this is an interesting level because you kind of do the objectives in reverse, as you'll see. And one thing before we show a run here is, I remember being about probably 10 or 12 years old, and I kind of, you know, as I'm sure many of us in this room or any speedrunning event were known to be a really high-skilled gamer in our middle school or whatever have you. I remember this one kid once showed up at my door, at my house after school saying, "Hey man, like I just can't beat Control. How do you beat Control?" And I said, "Well, what's giving you some trouble?" He couldn't figure out how to destroy the armored mainframes. So maybe now, you know, almost 20 years later, maybe he's out there watching, and maybe tonight he'll learn finally how to destroy the armored mainframes and complete Control Agent. And now the very first recorded record of Control Agent was a 4 minutes 18 seconds. It's Goldeneye's longest level. And it was set by a man named Steven Schwartes. And he's quite an interesting figure, Schwartes. A lot of really old records are credited to him back in the day before even video proof existed. And so we really only have reputation to go on from way back in 1998 when he claims to have set 4:18. And the first run I'm going to show you tonight, though, is a good improvement over that by a gentleman named Randy Buikima, who would later go on to be a champion of the game. And this is his Control Agent speed run. And as you can see, you know, for a run set in the year 2001, the quality of the video is quite interesting. No audio on this video. I think some people still, I don't know if it's an urban legend or not, some people believe that audio can be lost off of video files from 20 years. And I'm sure some technical guys out there will be out there to say whether that's true or not. But a very basic playthrough of Control Agent. In the first room there, he just cleared out a bunch of guards. Natalia won't leave her lift to clear out all the guards. He runs down here, he picks up these remote mines. He carries on through this part of the mission and just runs through the rest of the control. You're going to see him warp a door there. So if you switch weapons while a door's opening, Bond's position updates a couple frames later because the game's trying to process so many things, and you'll just warp right through. You'll jump through a little crack in the door. Randy comes back and retrieves Natalia, and now you're going to see the sort of iconic protect sequence play out here, where Natalia has to hack the Goldeneye satellite for 2.5 minutes, and you just have to sit there and protect her. And a lot of guards come by, and this objective, Natalia hacking the Goldeneye satellite, really comes on to be one of the most contentious of all objectives in Goldeneye history. We've tried for years things that could speed it up, things that could skip it completely, and as you'll find out a little bit later, that may or may not be possible. And you'll see Randy continues to kill the guards, protect Natalia. There are two types of guards who come into this room, and there's 4 total guards that are constantly spawning from this point onwards in the level. 2 of those 4 wear these little black hats. Those guards go after you, Bond. The other 2 guards do not have hats. They pursue Natalia and they try to kill her while she's completing this objective. Obviously not a very friendly thing to do, but you have to protect her and yourself for what seems like an eternity sometimes when you're on a world record pace speed run. And coming up here, there's about one more line of text Natalia has to say. There's a guard, see, they're very sneaky. They blow at the glass there and try to appear and end your mission. And they do all sorts of, they throw grenades at you, which can be, I don't know who decided in Goldeneye it was a great idea to throw grenades inside buildings, but the guards seem to be inclined to do that. And so Randy used the mines that he had picked up on the mission, which kind of becomes a standard practice here, to blow out some of these glass doors, and these will give him access to some other parts of the level. And as we move on through the years, you're going to see some other sort of patterns or how the guys go about trying to move through the level efficiently. And you see Randy's up here really making sure no guards come. There you go. Okay, objective B is complete. And Natalia, after 2 more lines of text, is going to leave. Randy is coming through here, running through this room full of drone guns shooting at him. 1 more mainframe there is to blow up, and there's 1 more in this next room he's about to go into. There it is. And he blows it up. There's objective C completed, which is the frames. And now objective A. There you saw it barely pop up at the end there. And you may not be able to read the text on screen, but this is indeed a Control Agent 407 and one of the earliest records on the control level. Now, the thing with Objective A that you saw complete at the very, very end there that is notable is that after Natalia finishes her Objective B hacking sequence, what is going on exactly is that she now has to leave her little computer that she was hacking, and she has to run back into the first room, this room here. And Objective A doesn't complete until she runs back into this room. And as we've come to learn, the minimum time it can take for her to do that is 17 seconds. And so, of course, the speed run, you're hoping it takes 17 seconds. And so what would happen over the next few years is that players would specifically enter the lift and hope that Natalia's Objective A completes on the same frame that they've jumped into the lift. to maximize their speed, obviously, to get the fastest time. And that usually doesn't happen. The runs you're going to see tonight, it usually does happen because we're showing the world records through the history. But it's a level where you often play out a pile of runs, almost fail 95% of them, and that one run, you might get lucky and complete it at the end. So we're going to move a little bit later. This is a Brian Bosshart run. He tied Randy's 4:07. And we're going to see the quality of video improve a little bit here. So you see him shoot Natalia in the head. That's a very interesting strategy that Boss has developed. A couple things are going to be different on this run that we're going to talk about. So he clears out the first room. Natalia has a couple of messages here at this console. And the thing is, you see there's several animations that she can act out at this console. Some of them are faster than others. And so what can happen is that Natalia will have the second to last line of text, and then she can do one of two animations. One of them takes about a second longer than the other one. So what Boss did by shooting Natalia, once in the head to get rid of her body armor, and once in the arm, is that he's sort of controlled the animation. Shooting her in the arm takes over the animation she was going to do and gives you a consistent, fast animation. And this was an interesting strategy that was developed around 2002 that improved the consistency of Natalia opening the blast door for you. One other thing that Boss is going to show off here that makes it quite distinct from Randy's run is he's going to use the mines to blow up glass there early and run up the stairs and retrieve Natalia at this point. Pathing through the glass, as opposed to running around and upstairs like Randy did, saves about 3 seconds. So quite a substantial deal that Boss has done here, quite a time save. Now that shot on Natalia, another shot he made there, was in a belief that if you did the same kind of animation trick, you had a set animation, a set reaction, she would more quickly, or at least more consistently, start hacking the objective B. It was later turned out that that shot is completely unnecessary, so Boss having a little bit of extra abuse on Natalia there for no good reason. But what can you do when you're young and you don't know how all these strategies get hashed out? You can do some things that don't seem to make a lot of sense looking at it years later. And so again, we'll see. Look, Boss is having quite a chaotic time here on this Protect. But the Protect is more or less the same thing. We're going to skip ahead and see how he does the ending of this mission. And again, you'll see probably Objective B come up in moments. I expect at this point, Boss will run up and open a door for Natalia, which again, makes sense. Obviously, if you open a door for her, and especially there's these doors in this level that are very slow opening upwards, these brown doors. And obviously, if you open the door for her, she doesn't have to open it and wait herself. So this can further improve the chances that she will get back to the lift in 17 seconds. So if we see when this message fades out, I saw on my player said, at the 3:44 mark on this video. So I'm expecting Boss will jump into the lift at the 4:01 mark, which is in 5 seconds from now. We'll see if he does that. You see all this chaos is going on, and he just runs right in. You didn't see Objective A complete come up, but it did complete while Boss was exiting the level. In the fade is the term we use. There we go, Brian Bosshart, only a 4:06, right? You would think with those new innovations, those new strategy developments, a 3-second time save on routing through the glass, that Boss would have saved more time. And later he would. He was pretty new to the community at the time. Boss, of course, if you don't know, would go on to be one of the great champions of the game only a couple years later. But Boss at this time in October 2002. Only a few months later, in January 2003, Wouter Jansen, another legend of the game, would lower this down to 4:04. And about a year would go by, and Brian Bosshart would get another remarkable run on Control, sort of finally bringing the level to kind of where it should be with all the modern strategies and innovations. And one thing I'll bring up now is that these 6 guards in this first room, Natalia doesn't exit that lift and say, "James, you're wonderful," until not only the guards are killed, but their bodies have also faded out. You know, in these old games in Goldeneye, the guards' corpses don't stick around for very long. They fade out pretty quickly after they die to free up memory on the game. And the thing is, once you kill a guard, there's about 16 death animations they can have, which I did reenact on stream one night last year, all the death animations. And a lot of them are pretty silly. Some of them are, you know, they're there choking for 10 seconds or grabbing their groin in pain for 16 seconds. But there are about 8 of the 16 animations that take under 3 seconds to happen. And obviously, you want the faster animations to take place. Now, of those 8 fast ones, 4 of them are quite good. They're about 2.5 seconds. And there's 2 that are even faster than that take 2.3 and 2.1 seconds. So you really want, especially the last guard, to have one of the fastest possible animations so that Natalia will react and start running out of the mission, out of the lift as soon as possible. So we see Boss again pull off the shooting animation shenanigans, picks up the remote mines, and now you can kind of see there. The crate room is the room he just ran through with a bunch of guards in silver crates. And like, in theory, and this has been theorized for a very long time, in theory, you could skip the remote mines, save 1 or 2 seconds running to this area, the control room, and then hope that you farm 6 grenades or 8 grenades from guards over the course of the Protect, and use those to destroy the mainframes. The mainframes cannot be destroyed by shooting them. There has to be an explosion. And this has always been like a theoretical, insane strategy, which I'm sure in your speed game or many speed games people come up with, and it's one that never practically came to fruition because, well, for one, it's less likely you'll farm a grenade early enough that you can self-boost through the glass, like we saw was a strategy Boss used to cut 3 seconds. And then just the act of farming 6 grenades is absurd. Guards, maybe 1 in 50 times will pull a grenade. So to have, you know, you do see 20 plus guards come out through the course of the mission, and you can kind of like avoid shots and bait them into doing a new animation and possibly pulling a grenade. But it's a great idea, but not viable. And it's one of those ideas that kind of is more fitting through, you know, the early process of a stage's development. As time goes on, you realize like there are so many other things to optimize, and such a strategy is just not going to happen. It's too insane. And now this was at a time Boss was pretty much in his prime here, and you'll see he's blown up a desk there, hopefully to have Natalia not get stuck on it. So really a lot of thinking ahead. Again, we'll see the message, this good luck James message disappear. And 17 seconds later, Boss is going to enter the lift at the end of the level and hope Natalia escapes. And when you're playing this, she would not want to cooperate. Like, the thing is, like, obviously if a guard gets in her way, if there's any kind of thing the game's memory is distracted by, she might take another route. But of course, it's a world record run, and Boss completed this remarkable 4 minutes on Control. A cut of 6 seconds off of the last run you saw. So very, very impressive. And Boss really dropped this record into the sort of modern era at the time, 2004. Now, Boss actually, you know, the guy is a legend in the GoldenEye community. In June 2004, when he set this record, he had actually completed 9 untied world records on Control across the 3 difficulties. Untied means that, you know, to the full second, nobody else has it tied. He had 402, 418, and 422 between agent, secret agent, and double agent. And he dropped them down to 4 minutes, 413, and 417. A lot of time cut, a lot of time saved, and really this is prime Brian Bosshart. But of course, not all things last. In 2004, 2005, we saw a lot of new talent come to Goldeneye. Guys like Ilari Pekala Ilu, everyone loves him in the SpeedLore episodes. Perfect Ace, David Clemens, myself, all these guys came along who were capable of getting pretty decent records in the game. And Ilu eventually would tie this 4 minutes in November 2006. Well, what would you have it there? There's this old thread that Boss made in December 06, only weeks later, and he says, I will be able to play again in a week because the end of the semester is near. What should I play? And he has a few options in mind: Runway 00, Statue 00, Control Agent. Needless to say, such a legendary champion would eventually get an untied world record on all 3 of these stages. But he did indeed play Control Agent right after he was suggested to in December 06 on a break in between his schooling, and he would get this run. And again, a very clean first room, very quick Natalia reaction, and more or less the same strategy that you had just seen, but just more optimized. Now, one thing that he does here, and he did this on the 4 minutes as well, that was a little bit different than Randy's video, was when you retrieve Natalia, you have a little bit of time here. So you can throw a mine in this room, take out the 2 drones. You can see Boss is very low health, and this just makes it a little tiny bit easier, a little bit cleaner at the ending. You're not gonna have so much guard distraction. Your run to the mainframe's gonna be more consistent. Just less things to worry about compared to Randy's run, where he doesn't do that, and now he has to combat these guards and drones at the very end of the level while Natalia is trying to complete, making it much more chaotic. So that kind of, if you leave this area of control while Natalia is busy hacking, she stops her action. She gets mad at you, she yells, and you lose time. You lose as much time as you were outside of this sort of, semicircle around Natalia, protecting her here. So as long as you can get out, throw the mine in the drone room, blow it up, take care of it, and you can do that and get back into this zone before Natalia begins her hacking, you're all clear. And sometimes, not usually on Agent, but on some of the other difficulties, things can get kind of messed up, and you'll lose a really good run by taking too long outside this area. But alas, Objective B completes, Boss going on this same kind of classic route, opening, and it became kind of a standard path here. As soon as she completed B, you would leave. Now at any point here, she's still at the computer hacking away, and guards can spawn and kill her in that time where you've now left her area. And so it's very risky, and oftentimes you'd have a record pace run right to the end, you'd leave because that was the strategy at the time, and guards would kill Natalia, a few messages later, and that's a tough way to lose a run too. But here's Boss's new world record from December 2006, Control Agent 359, and that's a pretty remarkable time for sure, because it had actually been so long since Goldeneye had seen a world record in the 3 minute, that started with 3 minutes. It had been since about the year 2000, 1999. And, Statue, the next longest level, takes about 2.5 minutes. Control was over 4. And so Boss broke the 4-minute barrier, which was pretty cool for sure with this sweet 359. All right. So now we have a little bit of a story before we can progress any further. So there are some guys in the community, everyone's kind of known for different quirks. It's speedrunning. Everyone has a little quirk, to be sure. And one of the other top players, David Clemens, would come along, and let's see if I can pull up a picture of Clemens here. Okay, there's a good pic of. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if this one comes up. All right, look at this guy. He's a beast. This David Clemens. So quite a guy. Of course, he didn't look like this back in 2008 quite yet. It took many years to master the human form like he's done. But one thing that he wasn't so good at doing was recording his video game play, his speedruns. If you know me, that's something I'm kind of known to be a bit of a stickler for these days, is having runs recorded in good quality proof. It's imperative to a healthy speedrunning community. And so over the next couple years, Clemens came along, tied Boss's 359 a year later in December 07. Perfect Ace. Let's pull up a pic of Perfect Ace as well. He's quite an interesting guy as well. He actually resides in Pakistan, which he's maybe the only speedrunner in the world who lives there, despite its large population. And it's just kind of so unexpected. We didn't believe he was real at first because he was such a great player, incredibly talented, as you'll find out later in this episode. And he came along when he was 10 years old to the community. And when he was 13 years old, he tied Boss's 359. And so there was a little bit of a back and forth between Ace and Clemens on who would be the one to get 358. Not that any new strategy had came along. And you can see that over these years, only 1 or 2 seconds now has been cut on this 4-minute level. Obviously, pretty challenging. So one other guy, I should mention, Dan Cervone, who's a legend in his own right, tied 359 as well, right around the same time as Ace. And kind of a similar situation to Boss. Cervone played a lot in high school and college, and not so much later. And 359 was one of his really best records, his best records later on in his career, after he only kind of played during college breaks and whatnot. And we made it into 2009. And, well, what happened? Obviously, David Clemens achieved 358, but you'll hear what happened to the video. Something messed up with the recording, as was kind of typical for Clemens at the time. Now, Ace would tie the 358, but it would be about a year later. So for a long time, we had no video evidence of 358. And it was just kind of the way it was back then. Like, you didn't always have video quality videos of your speedruns. But alas, in June 2010, Clemens put out this video. You can read the title, and I'll let him commentate through this video. Of course, it was 2010. The internet was a much different time, so there is some, language that may not pass today, but nothing too offensive. So, cover your ears if you're mild, but otherwise, enjoy this run from Clemens. Are they hearing it okay, or?
First try of the session.
Yeah, let's crank it.
Turn Goldeneye on. First fucking try. Except
So you can see even there, he's kind of
was playing the level. You can
having
tell
some VHS troubles.
There's like colors on the screen for my VCR. But anyway, I got the best death from the last guard here, right? I think I could have got through the guards faster, or maybe the second or third last guard died a slow death, because it didn't seem like my start was as good as it could have been, but it was still pretty decent, and I knew it was a solid 358 pace, so I was content. Good net shot. I think this part was really nice. Good, nice mine pickup, nice turn. No boost, pretty surprising considering good warp here, but I had a small stuck there and I didn't get through that door that well, but the glass is really nice, and yeah, lured out fairly quickly, so not bad. Normal, just throw it and shoot the left one. Yeah, the right one didn't blow up, so I ended up getting stuck over here. But also, I usually do a pause after her message comes up, and I use the watch clock to like determine my pace. Because if the second hand is on the 4, then that should be about 358 pace. So it was on the 4 on this run, so I knew it had a good shot. Because the music was pretty annoying, so I just wanted to skip it. I got way more nerves, and the ending is just ridiculous with the music on. Because it just glitches up anyway, and you can't even tell what your pace is. So it's just more of a nuisance, actually, I think, than anything really. When I first got this time, my VCR, the remote, the batteries were dead, so I wasn't using the remote to record, and I couldn't get the display thing up that shows the timer and everything. So I left the TV and I turned the VCR off. I went to talk to Glenn Stevens on AIM, and then I came back and started resuming the session, and I forgot to hit record because the timer wasn't on, so I wasn't sure if I was recording or not. I just assumed I was because I forgot I hit stop. And then I got 358 like the first run, so yeah, I don't know, that I think going up that stairs might give better nat odds for some reason, because I know Ace did that in his 358, so I was just fucking around trying to copy him because he said he had some decent odds, so I was just trying to mimic his run a little bit, and I think it helped because it's had a very good ending anyway. But after I got this, I went to talk to Ryan White on AIM and told him that I thought I got 358 because I was afraid to look at the time. I switched to it on the run, but I didn't look at it. I just left and started talking to Ryan, so that's pretty funny. And then after I left the computer, I went and looked at it finally, and then I saw the 8, and I was just like, fuck, yeah! But yeah, that was a good ending. It's hard to, I don't know the timing because that fucker shot me by the mainframe, so, but I think it was a flat 17. It must have been because it felt like all the extremely high 358 fills I had, so I definitely think it was a very high 358, .99 infinity for sure. But yep, there it is. Fucking finally. Never gonna play this piece of crap level again, so, well, Agent, anyway, but suffering is over, thank God.
There you have it, some pretty good commentary for the time, 2010, although we got his first one in 2009, and quite an interesting story. He wasn't sure if he was recording or not because the batteries in his VCR remote didn't work. It's just kind of a classic. If you were around in the speedrunning world back then, you would have seen similar. And you can see now, if we look at the control rankings from this era of 2009, Clemens has the Untitled Agent. Clemens and Ace have tied records on Secret and Double O Agent. So really a rivalry. And I'm almost kind of understating how challenging 358 was to get. No strategy innovation, just pure optimization, and barely getting a 358. Clemens was really, really happy with that run. And 358 was so good, no joke, that over the next 5 years, from 2009 to 2014, only Clemens, Ace, and Mark Rutsu, arguably the 3 best players ever, would tie 358. So that shows you how strong of a time Clemens got back in the day. All right, now I'm going to have you listen to an interesting, somewhat interesting clip here of, I was lucky last year to talk to the Dr. Doak, one of the guys who created Goldeneye. And we spoke for several hours just about the game, about the community, all this kind of stuff. And he could give me this really intense insight on how the game was made, how strategies might be possible. And I talked to him about the possibility of sequence breaking that Natalia Objective B hacking sequence, which takes over 2 minutes. And this is sort of his explanation as to why it is or isn't possible.
Each of those little scripts gets to do something. So it's like the thinking that each of those little scripts gets to do something. So it's like the thinking that it's called a thread. The thinking that the game is doing just gets passed around between all of them, and they get to do one thing, and then or get to do a little bit, and then they hand the control back. So that in this is like Natalia's doing. She's saying this, and then hands control back to the tick to the game, and then a third of a second it comes back around to her and says, well, "What do you want to do now?" And she says, "Well, I'm just waiting for this counter," so it goes away again. And then you get down to that one at the bottom where it says, below that green writing, yeah?
Yeah.
Resume if return value loop met. If cycle counter greater than value, this is the final counter on. Then she says, "I've did it. The satellite orbit is decaying." And then the next thing she does immediately is set objective bits, if true, objective 2. So when that timer gets to a certain value, she displays that text and she sets that objective to be completed.
Yeah, no, I definitely follow what's going on in the script now, yeah.
But that is the part that decides whether that objective is done. So killing the guards or doing other things won't make that go any faster.
Yes.
It's just she's just sitting there watching an alarm clock.
And so that's the key, is that literally the way the game was programmed was that there's no sort of, like the classic sequence break is in Ocarina of Time. You warp from the Deku tree to Ganon's castle because of the way values in the doors are stored and added up and all this crazy stuff. So you would hope that maybe that was the case in Goldeneye, and by doing some sort of shenanigans, we can break the sequence. But the way that objective was programmed was literally Natalia is standing at the computer, hacking the objective. What's really happening is she's just counting up frames on a timer. And that's all she's doing. And once she's reached a certain amount, the objective completes. And might there be a way to speed up or alter how the game counts frames? Like maybe some genius, some sock folder type is out there who can figure it out. But when we learned this, we really realized, like, okay, there's no hope in cutting out that 2+ minutes from the middle of this level. She's just counting frames, and what can you do? And now, one kind of reason that's relevant is if we look back on the total timer of the rankings in GoldenEye history, is if you add up all of these times on the screen here, every single record throughout the ages, in 2009 they added up to roughly 1 hour 13 minutes. That's called the total timer of the game, the overall combined time. And so it's kind of like a community collaborative goal to get as many records as possible, lower that as much as possible. And even back in 2001, we thought, okay, all 60 levels added up, we might be able to get into the 1 hour 11 minute range or so. And I mean, that's where we are today. And we kind of foresaw this. But sort of always the ace in the hole was that if we could break control, maybe we could get the overall timer lower. And so there were many efforts to do just that and break control over the years. And well, where does the story go next? In early 2014, one of the most controversial moments, it's certainly in recent Elite community history, took place. A gentleman by the name of Trent Hovis, who you can get the vibe right on, is a unique guy, we'll say. He came up with a strategy once that involved playing with 2 controllers plugged into your Nintendo 64 and with the second controller dismantled and pushing on the circuitry of the second controller, which would distort the timer on some levels. And he showed videos and claimed a few untied world records using that strategy. Immediately when, and he kind of teased us for a week, let us on, oh, I have this insane strategy. It's saving all this time. I'm getting untied records. And it was really quite a wild goose chase. And when it was finally revealed what he had done, everyone in the community was like, dude, are you serious? Like, there's no way we're gonna allow this distorting the second controller's circuitry. This is absurd, Trent. This is the kind of guy he was. And so one day, in early 2014, he posted this video claiming that he had broken Control Agent, not in the way that we were hoping by skipping Natalia's hacking sequence, but if you watch carefully on screen here, this is just bizarre. I once called a Mark Rutsu apartment tour video something out of a shock snuff film. I think this may be a better description of this video in particular. And so you see Trent jumps in here and wiggles around after Natalia's left, and Natalia has not moved as far as she normally would, which is, did Trent find a new strategy? And now instead of Natalia operating that console, she just runs straight through these blast doors and goes to the main hacking area. Doesn't seem to be the sequence break we were looking for, but indeed some sort of sequence break has apparently taken place here. And now Trent, see where Natalia was saying, James, I need cover doing this? That's the message that you get if you're too far away from her during her hacking sequence. But because this obviously would save more time, it's not a big, he's still winning overall, even though he had to backtrack for the remote mines. And so Natalia's going to start her hacking sequence, and the level is going to proceed as it normally would. And now the protect here, it's just a standard protect, nothing too interesting happens. And here we go. So objective B is completed, we skipped ahead. And we're going to see Trent finish the stage. So because he had to backtrack for the mines, apparently, this room is not cleared out anymore. But he runs through and doesn't take too much damage either way. I think he waits for objective A complete on screen here as well, which is kind of troll. There it is. Jumps in. And what do we have here? The record's 358, by the way. A bit of a slow roll, I think we get from Trent here. .352 Control Agent. And so I always bring up our hapless pal Jimbo, who's a longtime leader and a top 10 player in his own right. Trent texted Jimbo saying, wow, here's the video. Pay up, I broke Control, and time will be posted on the ranks soon. And then Jimbo spends literally his entire day attempting to recreate the strategy that Trent allegedly invented. And Trent wasn't telling us anything, so many people in the community were just streaming Goldeneye, seeing if they could duplicate what he did. Here you go. This is Jimbo's post here. Trent texted me at noon at work, said, "Want an untied? Control's broken. New strat. You have 2 hours before I post the vid." And I feel bad, I would say, because if we find some post from me, it's like I'm just here showing the proof policy and why this can't stand, and saying, Trent's a troll, I said, in a way, I say he's a true performance artist, which is kind of interesting. I knew this was a ruse from the get-go, but there were a lot of people who spent all day. Imagine you have a day plan. You're grocery shopping, going to hang out with the family, going to do whatever you got to do, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, new strategy, go get an Untied, boys. And now you drop everything and spend all day playing Goldeneye. That's the life of a speedrunner, and that's what Trent baited everyone into doing. The run was revealed to be a ruse. He allegedly spliced like half the screen where there's the TV, and there were 3 splices in the run. He, went on to explain how it was actually a very difficult thing to set up, and he had to, back Natalia up carefully, back, to make her further into the room, and then proceed through the blast door, and really what sort of a magic trick this was. And some people were like, oh yeah, like Trent, cool stuff. I love the presentation in the video. That's a true quote from this thread. I can't dig too far into this thread though, because there are some, it gets a bit NSFW images in there. Quite a flame thread, a classic internet troll fest. I will post it in the description of the YouTube video for you guys to check out. I know a lot of people love reading these ancient flame wars, so that is a good one for sure. People, I suggest Trent should be banned from the community for having done this ruse, wasting everybody's time. Other people are in there defending him, and it's a fun thing to read. To get my point across, or should I say, someone by the name of Zenith Legend, who sounds a lot like another person's rendition of Cowan Hames, released this video a few days later. And again, who knows? Is it legit or not? We'll see.
Hello everyone, it's Zenith Legend here, with a new control strategy. I'm playing the level 1 agent, and I've discovered a new strategy that can take the game down into a low 3-minute, maybe a high 250. I'm gonna show you the strategy here. Control's just totally broken now. It's so broken. It's like someone who's just been, they've been broken up with, they've been divorced. It's more broken than Endgamer's soul. I'm gonna show you the strategy. I'm kind of going slow in the first room because, I'll let you guys have a shot at the Untied if you want. So this run's not very fast, but it's, it's a low 3-minute run, no big deal. Really, really easy strategy I just discovered. So you start out the level like normal, And I'm not gonna show you the whole thing. I'm gonna give you guys a few hours to figure it out yourself. But yeah, you start the level kind of normal, But now here's one of the differences. You go and retrieve Natalia, and now this computer is very interesting. If you shoot, I'm gonna shoot once here, and I'm pressing B now, and I'm not reloading. And again, even though it's destroyed, I'm not reloading. So the game clearly is taking some action there, There's some action the game is processing here at the computer. And as it turns out, there's something, if you do here, to add on to that action that, completes the level, kind of skips Natalia's objective B. So I'm gonna pause here in a second once the alarm goes off. Yep, and now I'm going to cut the video briefly. And I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to figure out what goes on here. But it's really obvious, and if you've been paying enough attention, you should easily be able to figure out what I've done here to get Natalia to leave early. 25 years after this game's release, I just come up with these strategies like no problem, because I'm fucking Zenith Legend. And it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do. It doesn't matter what's healthy for the community. All that matters is important strategies and developments in the game. So as you can see there, Natalia is now running up, and you leave now. And I leave a little bit slow. Again, to let you guys have a shot at the Untied World Records. You're not gonna see Objective A complete on screen, because You know, it's like, kind of like the train. When you beat train, you don't see objective B completed for saving Natalia. It just happens, and that's what happens when you sequence break, which is what I do, you know? Fucking Zenith Legend. They're gonna call me the fucking sock folder of Goldeneye. I'm just that great. So yeah, you know, whatever. Blow that shit up, objective C completed. Nail the fucking warp. And there we go, there's the fucking cutscene. Completed. And there's my time. So, easy peasy strategy. You know, really simple. I think you guys should be able to figure out what I did pretty easily there. So, have fun. Ha 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 ha.
Quite a video. Certainly. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, you can see the last name there is Ramirez on this YouTube channel. Also, years ago, you know, sometimes you gotta have fun with your online communities occasionally. And about a year or two before this, what is a common thing that some players will do is they'll try to make an alt account, a fresh Goldeneye account on the rankings with a fake name and get some like really bad records and post them. And like you see how far you could go with it, right? And a number of people have done this over the past, decade or two. And I decided to make an account name. The name I used was Justin Bieber Ramirez. You know, I read somewhere that in South America, often people will be named after celebrities. So you'll actually have people named Michael Jackson Gonzalez or similar. So I made an account, Justin Bieber Ramirez, and I submitted with this broken English saying I was from Colombia. And for some reason, unknown reason, the administrator of the Elite, at the time his name was Your Eliteness, he actually designed the rankings. He's long gone from the community now. He believed it. He believed there was honestly this 13-year-old kid named Justin Bieber Ramirez wanting to join the rankings. And so he accepted it on the ranks. And, you know, eventually our poor pal Justin Bieber Ramirez was banned from the rankings after he posted only a damn Agent 58, which was terrible, and then a Runway Agent 23, which is, you know, an okay time. Didn't last too long, but the account, the YouTube account, I guess he lent his YouTube account to Zenith Legend, who posted this sequence broken control run, and the rest is history, shall we say. Obviously, a huge troll, a fun troll. I had a good time with it, and just kind of mocking Trent and the people who kind of were having fun with that as well. You know, it's kind of like we can all have fun the same way, and you kind of have these like unnecessary rivalries. You know, it's like why did I dislike what Trent was doing so much when here I am doing similar, right? And so, yeah, you know, you got to think like, let's just have fun, you know. We'd have a lot of fun with Control in the following few months, because all this trollery, all this banter, what it would do is it would inspire people to actually go and try to do things on Control. A lot happened. A lot took place. Here is an interesting thing, and this was sort of in works for years. On other levels, we had times where we would throw a mine or an explosive through a wall, and we didn't really understand it. But here's Henrik, our TASer, the Goldeneye's main TASer, showing that you can indeed throw a mine through the wall here and destroy this mainframe. So you can do that earlier, and you don't have to do it after Natalia's finished her protect. You can do it before. Here's another mine throw for another mainframe. And what this will show is now we can do all the mainframes during the protect sequence. We don't have to do them before or after. And now that doesn't directly save any time, but it certainly makes it a little bit more consistent. And another one here is sort of this whole idea of injuring Natalia with certain limb hits and leg hits. She'll back up. And so if you can back her away from her main hacking console, well, now she's even a little bit closer to the ending. And now she can escape even a little bit faster than the 17 seconds, maybe a low 16 she can escape. And so there's all this kind of stuff that starts adding up, that starts steamrolling to the point where we might be able to do something about it. And again, this is actually, ironically, a Trent video that isn't a troll, but he discovered you don't need to shoot Natalia in the beginning to hit the consistent animation. As long as you kind of unload her and then look at a certain time, you can have the consistent fast animation open the door. What all of this put together ended up meaning was that you could now complete all the mainframes during the protect sequence. You could back Natalia up pretty far away from her hacking console, and you could really be close to Natalia and watch her leave. And the result of this all happening was that because less is kind of going on the level, there's less things that can go wrong because you've sorted out so much beforehand. Natalia almost always now consistently escaped in 17 seconds or less. Almost. So you took a level where the ending objective, which was a 1 in 100 thing, now is almost 100%, which is a pretty big deal. Before this, Ace, Mark, Rutsu, Clemens, only 3 guys had 58. They all spent a ton of time going for 357, 100 hours each almost. Mark, I used to watch some of Mark's Control 357 attempt streams were some of the best ever, and he couldn't do it. This strategy came along and everything changed, and we're going to watch a run that came of it. Almost immediately, a couple guys, Ilu, myself, and Jimmy Bauer tied the 358 record with these new strategies. And again, it's not saving minutes, but in the realm of speedrunning, a few seconds, even just making a second more consistent, is a big deal. And the record's 358. What will consistency do? It might just allow us to push a little bit further. Like I said, if Mark and Ace were getting tons of 357 failed runs, but never completing them, well, now that the ending's consistent, they can probably complete one of them. And that is what you are going to see here. Perfect Ace completing a run with the new strategies. You had a couple mines you can do self-boost like he was doing there. Blow up the glass, bingo up the ramp, retrieve Natalia. Now there was some stuff as well with Natalia's, even her motion from when you retrieve her until she comes down the stairs here. It was inconsistent. And all these things had to be hashed out to discover, exactly where to look, exactly when to turn away from her. So that mine throw blew up that far mainframe. That's taken care of. That's a big deal. This mine throw is going to blow up this mainframe. Objective C completed. Now he's ready to rock. Now a lot of guards come by because this is going to get a little bit more chaotic here. But Ace will manage it pretty well. Now oftentimes, especially back in the day, especially, in the heyday, 06, 07, some of you who have seen my SpeedLore episodes before will know, on Aztec, for example, Ilu made a lot of really crazy, interesting videos, edited in Windows Movie Maker, of kind of have a funny plot or a cool song to kind of celebrate or make a big showcase of his untitled records. And so it's kind of become a tradition to at least make a music version of if you get a good untied record, to put a song in a version of the video. Obviously, this is not the version with a song in it. However, the song Ace used in his 357 Control Ace and I loved at the time the movie Frozen had just come out a few months earlier, and we loved Frozen. It was our favorite movie, and we loved the songs in it. And so I told Ace, like, dude, if you get 357 on Control Agent, you got to use Let It Go in your video. And the thing is, the song Let It Go isn't 4 minutes long, so it didn't quite fit. And I said, just use some kind of, fill it in the beginning, put it in at the end, and the result, which again, I'll link it in the description of the video for sure, is a thing of beauty. Watching this run set to Let It Go is unbelievable. Obviously, I can't show it to you guys in the marathon setting, but truly special, and especially the ending of it was really remarkable. So Ace jumps up here to open the door for Natalia. So now he's watching Natalia go up the stairs, and he's skipping all of the sequence at the end now. Not sequence, but all the mainframe that's blowing up. He's taking care of that. So now he can just go here, wait, until 16 seconds after Natalia's speech has disappeared, and jump in the lift. And he watches the cutscene. And that dinging of that door at the end of Control. If you're familiar with the sequence of Let It Go from the movie Frozen, Queen Elsa does this crazy, makes a snow castle and lets it go and climbs the mountain. At the very end of the sequence, she slams the door behind her. It has this kind of twinkle sound, and it's the end of the sequence. And Ace synchronized that part of Let It Go with the door closing on Control, and it was a thing of beauty to behold, to be sure. And we were treated after all of that to Control Agent 357. What a legendary run of beauty. Where do we go from there? Obviously, the thing is, you got to keep in mind, obviously, about a second save at the ending of this run. So, there's obviously some good time to gain from Natalia being closer to the ending, about a second. And then just the sake of consistency, it could probably be pushed even lower, right? And so in a couple days, we saw guys like Ace and Jimmy Bauer and Luke Pettit, and they all tied 357. But it would be pushed even further by the madman David Clemens himself. And, what's Clemens's quirk again? In the year 2014, even though he had found batteries for his VCR, hopefully, something else happened. And this is what David Clemens's Control speedrun in the year 2014 looks like. And I just shake my head, to be honest. It's like, okay, I sort of have a bit of a reputation, I guess, in the speedrunning community. Some people think it's rude of me to push for better quality captured videos. Some people think this is, that my stance is sort of careless of, at least not mindful of wealth inequality, we'll say, right? Some people can't afford capture equipment. I mean, the thing is, sure, and if that's the case, then I genuinely feel sorry, and I think there could be a lot of initiatives of some of the wealthier speedrunners to buy capture cards for some of the less fortunate. That's fine. Clemens, though, is not one of these men. Clemens, he's certainly a middle class guy. He could buy a capture card, and for a long time he just played for himself only, not really caring about the quality of his run, we'll say, and obviously bothered me to no end. And not only that, but at the time, this was only about a year and a half after the whole Henning Blom situation, which is where...
Seriously just not blow it up?
Henning, that he can't back up because there's a guard in the way. There we go, objective C completed.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck? That was so weird.
in the first SpeedLore episode I did on Frigate Secret Agent, we focused on Henning Blom and how he spliced numerous Goldeneye runs and denied them for months to come, and was found with more splices, was eventually removed from the rankings, and a whole proof policy was developed on how to deal with video quality, how to avoid this kind of thing from being a continual problem in the community. So in 2013, we decided you have to capture your gameplay, especially when it comes to untied world records. And Clemens was going for an untied world record. He knew it wouldn't count on the rankings if he got it, but that didn't prevent him either from playing for an untied in this quality. I think it's literally like a 360p, Microsoft live chat webcam pointed at a CRT on an angle from afar. I mean, hopefully you'll see a happy resolution to this all, but you can make it out. You can make out the run. You can see he's backing up Natalia pretty effectively. She's making it a good distance away from her desk. Of course, the game still thinks she's hacking the computer that she's standing 20 feet away from now, which is kind of funny. And now he's doing a very advanced strategy where he is injuring guards. And so what he's hoping to do here is sync up all of their killing so that they all die right now or be completes. They take a little while to respawn and rejoin the area. So he's kind of really set that up so now there's no guards who can get in Natalia's way. Really, really good stuff. And now all he has to do is run to the end and jump out in 16 and a half seconds.
Wow, okay. Another 357? That's like 2 in 30 minutes. What? Oh my god! I got it! I got 356! I got it! Yeah, baby. Holy shit. Holy shit. That is nice. That is nice. Okay.
It is nice, Clemens. However, it was really the first time that the new proof policy was tested and an untied world record was rejected from the rankings for not meeting the adequate quality standards. And so, didn't count. Tough luck, Clemens. And he didn't, because Clemens had been playing his control sessions like this, he didn't even have a 357 in good enough quality. So he was back rolled to 358. Such a shame. And, would Clemens learn his lesson? Okay, obviously a lot of strategizing was going on. A lot of people were still playing control. Luckily, our hero Perfect Ace would step up. And only a week later, in March 2014, March 15, 2014, Ace indeed would... Oh, you hear that? See, you can tell how good your start is, how fast the guards had died, based on the ding of the elevator. And where it was in that run is pretty much as good as you're ever going to get. So this is like a perfect start. And then Ace just carries on beautifully. And, he would step up and get a 356 in adequate quality, which is pretty nice. Now, one funny thing with Ace's, his overall existence really, but especially when it comes to me is, I'm a top 10 player in the game. I consider myself pretty decent given how much competition there's been over the years. But a guy like Ace always has the best of me. And on Control, when I got 358, which was my first time ever getting a record on Control, a world record, Ace got 357 the next day, removing my record. I would then go for 357 for a week. And even though Clemens had 356 and we all knew he did, it wasn't on the rankings. So if I got 357, it technically would have been a world record. I would get my 357 one day after Ace got this run. And so yet again, Ace just gets the best of me. And it's like your kryptonite, it's like Roger Federer just can't beat Nadal, and it's just like that with Ace. But Ace pretty much does it to everybody. There's no one that can really get the best of him. And we've seen that recently too. Ace has recently come back to the game after about a year of not playing it. Immediately got another untied world record. The guy is just too good for words. All right, we'll skip ahead here. He's probably pulled Natalia a very far distance away. Look how far away Natalia is. Clean path to the stairs. And again, Ace is pulling the shooting guards in the feet strategy to synchronize their deaths and respawns. And he can wait here for Natalia to move. Looking down, Natalia can spin around, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but takes about half a second, and so her lead is not ideal. Looking down again, unloading her temporarily avoids that from happening. Just masterfully played by Ace. And again, he just has to believe and jump to lift at the right time. He does. And here you go. Control Agent 356. What a truly remarkable speedrun that is by Perfect Ace. Now, I'll show the tail end of my 357 got the next day. It was quite an interesting run because you'll see here.
Fuck, my DVD stopped recording. This is insane.
So I was
The only recording, if this is 357, the only recording is gonna be this fucking thing. This is so insane.
You can really tell how discombobulated my mind is when you're speedrunning and trying to talk. It's very difficult, obviously. I had a lot going on. I played level 4 70 hours, and I barely couldn't squeeze up the 357. I was trying to inspire myself, so I don't know if you could quite hear it, but I was playing Circle of Life in the background. That's why I've skipped a good deal this run. At the time I was streaming a lot, I would be listening to inspirational Arnold Schwarzenegger speeches and whatnot. Circle of Life fit the bill. And this drama unfolded on this speedrun here.
Holy shit. I have to wait because otherwise the DVD is going to it pops up. It says writing to disk right now. Once it's to 100, it pops over the game. This is pretty insane, dude.
Really insane. I'll say.
Okay, here we go.
It's like the drama that unfolds in speedruns. You can't get anywhere else. And I had to pause right beside Natalia because when you're backing up Natalia, her position is only temporary. And so if you go too far away or unload her right now, she'll warp back to the desk. And that's no good. That negates all of your process of backing her up, which makes the level even more difficult because usually Natalia starts with body armor. And so if guards shoot her, the body armor negates that and she survives. So you have some time to kill a guard who might try to shoot her. But doing the backup strategy, backing her up rather, if a guard just hits her with one shot, she'll die and you'll fail the mission. So it just makes the mission so much more dangerous to complete and
No, watch doesn't lose any time here.
Yes, someone was asking if pausing costs time. In Goldeneye, it doesn't. Once the watch is up, you can wait an hour and you won't lose time. Especially since we're in a set sequence here.
Shit.
Was nothing. So now I start counting.
38. So we're gonna go we're gonna go mid 54.
So I'm timing the 16-second ending, calculating it in my mind. Get kind of trolled there.
It completed.
Oh
My fucking god. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you literally... That was the fucking run.
I think we can all relate. If you're a speedrunner, you can relate to that moment of finally getting your run and being really, really happy. What a rush, as our pal Ryan Lockwood once famously said. Although some might also argue back that the rush is only temporary, just chasing a temporary high. But in that moment, it's certainly worth the 70 plus hours of pain to put up with. Unfortunately for me, that was a day after Ace had proven a 356. No record for me. A couple more guys would get 356 over the next couple years. And, Ilu would do it, really, really talented runner. Another guy, Wotus. Some of you will know Wotus from, he was originally an Ocarina of Time runner, moved to Goldeneye. This is the world record thread. Very, very special thread. You can only post in here if you have a world record. And people post all sorts of strange things. It's a treat to post here. And so Wotus is an astrophysicist. He photoshopped, it's I guess from a Mars lander mission. And you can see it says Control 356 there, him and Clemens shaking hands. Just kind of a funny thing we do in the community. I'm sure if you're around speedrunning, you've seen little fun things like that as well. So kind of pretty cute run he had. And there's one more run I have to show to conclude the story of Control Agent SpeedLore. And, it wouldn't fit any better than this, So like I said, Clemens originally got 356, didn't count. Ace got it proven. Ilu, Wotus, Luke Sklarz would tie it. And that's it. To this day, only those 5 have ever done 356. But for redemption, earlier last year, our pal David Clemens he realized his misdoings, his misdeeds. He said, I have to prove myself. I have to replicate Control 356. And so here he is, attempting to do so.
What is this? Wow.
Really good start, obviously.
Crazy.
You can hear the ding is pretty high up there with Natalia.
Good run, just really good run.
Now you see Boris's text up on the screen there. If you kill him, you fail the mission too, so it's never really happened on a really good run, on Agent at least, but you can occasionally get trolled by Boris, dying in an explosion or something of the like. And now we have 2 minutes of chaos for Clemens on his run for redemption. So much chaos going on.
Chaos. Utter chaos.
If that guard who broke the glass hit Natalia, Clemens wouldn't be able to back up Natalia as efficiently. And it gets really complex because you can shoot her like 8 times or 5 times right now. If a guard shoots her, you have to kind of guess how much damage he did and adjust accordingly. So it really gets messed up. He's going for the arm hit, which is a little bit more difficult than the leg hit, but backs up her a little bit further. The thing is, she moves her arms a lot, so it's, again, more difficult.
Okay.
Very intelligent strat that throwing the mine at those guards clears out some more distraction later on the level, making the ending even more clean. And occasionally that might lure some guards to open that door for him. Not that it saves time, but just, again, one less thing to worry about. Clemens probably, there we go, there's objective be completed. So now Clemens is hoping to have not troll guard spawns. Clears that one, he's looking good, looks down. Now watch his timer, right? The Good Luck James disappears at about 122.03, a high 03. He can probably go in at a low 19. Let's see if he jumps in on low 19 here. Mid 19.
I think this is it. I think this is it. Yes. Got it. Fucking top 5 reaction. Fucking top 5 reaction, dude. Alright. Fucking done with this shit. I knew I had it. I fucking knew that was it. I fucking knew it. Dude, that ending timing was so clutch. I knew I had to go in at a high 19. I actually looked at the decimal. So I knew I had to go in at a high 19. So I waited. I fucking waited. I did exactly what Goose said, and I fucking waited.
Exactly what Goose said. I was in chat advising him, you see. It's
Yeah. Take the shirt off. Fucking. Alright.
And there we have it. And maybe there's no more fitting run to end on than Clemens getting redemption, getting his 356 again in good and acceptable proof quality, and taking his shirt off for the world to behold. If we look at the control rankings today, you'll see again, Clemens is actually now recredited with being the first to get 356. It is maybe the topic of debate for some people. Should he be credited with his duplication and good quality, or did he now prove his original one? But you know, that's neither here nor there, certainly. And you see 5 guys have the 356. Looks 18 have 357 or better. So who knows where control will lead us now? Obviously, the impossible sequence break, proven impossible by one of the game's developers. Everyone still wonders, though, you know, speedrunners have a way of making the impossible possible, right? So is there more time to be cut from Control Agent? Are there more strategies, more even smaller time savers to come along? Quite the tale from beginning to end. I certainly hope you enjoyed learning about Control Agent. And it was really a fun time sharing all of this with you guys here at the NASA Marathon. Definitely a huge thanks to the Marathon, to our pals at Nigleria. What a guy, especially. You know, the guys allowing this sort of thing at their event. I know it's kind of a, who knows what Goose is going to do with his SpeedLore, but hope you enjoyed it. And especially this guy, Dark Aries, is a legend on the tech, making all the screens fit. Certainly not an easy job making it all work out. So thanks, guys. And if you do enjoy this kind of speedrun commentary, this speedrun history, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, RWhiteGoose. A ton more of it there for you. And I will follow up with another SpeedLore episode in good time. So thank you all for watching. See you soon in the next stream or video, and stay true, my friends. Stay true. Wow, it's truly remarkable.